Prioritize your psychological recovery. When you're going through prolonged stress, one of the most important things that you can do is to make the time for the things that you love doing, the things that re-energize you. As you engage in these things, these energizers, what happens reliably is you feel a boost in your emotional well-being, and that makes you more emotionally resourceful. And it's emotional resourcefulness that enables you to sustain your performance over time. Now, the challenge is when you have such a high and demanding workload and it's so prolonged, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you feel there's no time. But think more about your energy. In order for you to sustain your performance, in order for you to even help other people, there is some degree of necessary self-care. Think about it like you are recharging. Any device without the power initially is useless, right? And you're kind of like that. Your nervous system needs adequate recovery. Now, we know this is important in terms of physiological recovery, right? We know sleep is non-negotiable. Well, my point that I want you to really take home is your psychological or emotional recovery is just as important. So, how can I help you now identify these things and book them in your calendar? Well, for this, get a pen and paper, right? Or you can use an app if you want, but I want you now to do a brainstorm of, for you, what are the things that when you do them, you feel a sense of energy, you regain a sense of balance perhaps, you feel recharged, you feel emotionally lifted. For me, seeing friends is a classic example, connecting with the people I love. Writing music is also a big part of my life, and when I do it, I feel nourished and recharged. What is it for you? I want you now, pause the video if you wish, get a pen and paper and do a brainstorm, no less than 5, ideally 10 or more. What are the things that you love doing? Okay, now identifying these things is the first step, but that is insufficient. We now need to make sure that you, on an ongoing basis, actually spend more time doing these things. And this is when you need to become strategic and a bit of a problem solver. For example, some of the things you've written down may be things you can do on an average day. Maybe you can include some of them into a morning routine or an evening routine, or perhaps something you do at lunch. Calling a friend, for example, doesn't have to take too long, but it can give you that lift that we're after. Again, listening to music, if that's you, then a single track might be enough for you to feel like, okay, I'm back. And now maybe think about your typical weeks. Are there things on your list that you feel actually maybe you could do these things on an average week? Again, maybe it's getting in touch with other people. Maybe there's something to do with reading or learning, listening to a podcast. Again, it doesn't have to be a long podcast, but you can see how perhaps you could create a sort of a default week that includes more of these things, greater regularity, more consistency, more time with you in this recharge state. And then finally, perhaps there are things that are only realistic for you to do more on a monthly basis. So my friends, that is now your homework. You've got the list. Now book these things in your calendar, either in terms of daily or weekly routines or specific calendarization. And don't just book something once. Try to create a kind of a default repeating calendar for future commitments with yourself, maybe with other people as well, so that now on an ongoing basis, you book in more recharge time.